me ask you something. Have you ever been in a moment where everything around you felt like it was falling apart? Where the weight of uncertainty, pressure, and fear made you question whether you could keep going, let alone lead others? Because I've been there. And I'll tell you something real. That's the moment leadership actually begins. It's easy to lead when things are smooth, when everyone's smiling, when the plan works. But when the storm hits, when people are panicking, when your team is looking at you with fear in their eyes, that's the test. That's the fire. That's where average fades and real leaders rise. Today, I'm not here to give you cliches. I'm not here to give you surface level strategies. I'm here to hand you the exact mindset, the emotional weapons, and the internal power you need to lead even when it's tough. So if you're tired of being reactive, if you're ready to become unshakable, not just for yourself, but for the people counting on you, then lock in with me. Because the next few minutes might just be the shift your leadership and your life has been waiting for. You see, the truth is leadership doesn't start when everything is going well. Leadership begins where comfort ends. It's in those moments when you're under pressure, when the answers aren't clear, when you're facing resistance from every direction. That's when the real leader in you is either born or buried. Everyone wants to lead when the path is smooth, when the economy is up, the team is aligned, when the applause is loud, it's easy. But that's not leadership. That's management at best. Leadership is tested, forged in fire. It shows up when the plan falls apart, when emotions are high, when people are looking to you and silently asking, can we still move forward? And in that moment, you have a decision to make. You can shrink, collapse into the comfort of blame, fear, or indecision, or you can rise. Because here's the secret. The obstacle in front of you, it's not blocking your path. It is your path. The discomfort is not a detour, it's the training ground. And if you run from that pressure, you rob yourself of the strength that's waiting to be developed. I've watched people wait around for things to get easier before they step up. They say, once this settles down, once we fix this problem, then I'll lead. No. You lead now. You lead especially because it's hard. That's the calling. Leadership is not a title. It's a decision you make in the middle of the storm. And here's the crazy part. When you embrace the discomfort, when you face the fire instead of avoiding it, something changes inside you. You start to build what I call emotional muscle. You become someone people can count on, not just when it's convenient, but when it counts the most. There's power in being the calm in the chaos. Not because you're pretending everything is fine, but because you've trained yourself to stay grounded when the ground is shaking. And the more you do it, the more you discover that the discomfort you once feared is actually your ally. It's the very thing that forces you to expand your capacity. You weren't built for safety. You were built to grow, and growth lives just on the other side of challenge. You want to lead at the next level? You want to inspire people even when they're discouraged, scared, or ready to quit? Then you've got to be the one who says, I don't run from the fire, I walk through it. Because when you do that, when you lead in spite of fear, pressure, or uncertainty, you don't just earn respect, you create transformation. You show others what's possible. And that is what leadership truly is. Leadership begins where comfort ends. Let me tell you something that most people miss. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. When everything around you feels out of control, the one thing you must take command of is your inner world. Because leadership doesn't start with strategy. It doesn't start with tactics. It starts with state, your emotional, mental, and physical state in the moment. When pressure hits, when plans fall apart, when people are panicking, it's your energy that sets the tone. People don't follow perfection, they follow presence. And the only way to have that presence is to master what's going on inside of you. That means being able to shift your state fast. Think about it. When chaos is swirling around you and you let it swirl inside of you, you become part of the problem. But if you can center yourself, breathe, change your physiology, change your focus, suddenly you become the anchor, the eye in the storm. And that's when people lean in. That's when they trust you, even when the situation looks impossible. It's not about pretending things are fine. It's about owning your energy and directing it with purpose. Because if your mind is scattered, your leadership will be too. If you're operating from fear, people will feel that. They may not say it, but they'll feel it. And if you're grounded, focused, steady, they'll feel that too. Your team, your family, your clients, everyone takes cues from your energy before they ever listen to your words. And here's the beautiful part. You're never at the mercy of your emotions unless you choose to be. You can train yourself to interrupt fear, to replace overwhelm with clarity. You can condition your mind and your body to respond with power, even when it feels like everything's falling apart. But it starts with awareness. You've got to catch yourself in the spiral. You've got to notice when you're tightening up, pulling back, shrinking. And then you take the wheel back, move your body, stand up, speak differently, ask a better question. Instead of, what if this all fails? Ask, what needs to happen next? That one shift in focus can change everything. Because your outer world will always reflect your inner world. If you're scattered inside, your team will be scattered. If you're calm, focused, and intentional, sooner or later, that's what you'll create around you. Leadership isn't about controlling everything. It's about becoming someone who doesn't fall apart when everything else does. And the greatest leaders, the ones who lead in the dark and the uncertainty, they don't just hope they'll feel confident or grounded. They condition themselves for it every day. They train it like a muscle. And when the pressure comes, they don't fake certainty. They become certainty. Because when you can lead your inner world, the outer world follows. One of the biggest traps leaders fall into, especially when things get hard, is reacting. They get hit with a problem. Instead of pausing and recalibrating, they start scrambling. They jump from issue to issue, putting out fires, answering every demand, trying to fix everything at once. But here's the truth. Reactive leadership is not real leadership. It's survival. And survival mode is not sustainable if you're trying to build something that lasts. When it gets tough, people don't need more noise. They don't need panic. They don't need you running in circles. What they need is vision, a clear, compelling picture of what's still possible, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. They need someone who can say, I know things are uncertain right now, but here's where we're going, and here's why it still matters. Vision doesn't mean you have all the answers. It means you refuse to lose sight of the bigger picture. It means that even when the how gets messy, the why stays strong. And people will rally around a strong why. They'll move with you if they believe there's still a destination worth reaching. When you lead from vision instead of reaction, you stop being a firefighter and you start being a lighthouse. You stop trying to control every wave and start guiding people through the storm. That doesn't come from having perfect conditions. It comes from being centered in your purpose. And this is where most leaders struggle. When things go wrong, they get pulled into the drama. They get emotional, frustrated, distracted. But that's when you've got to come back to center. You got to step back and ask yourself, what matters most right now? What do I want to create beyond this moment? That's the power of vision. It gives you direction when everything else feels directionless. But here's the key. You got to communicate that vision with certainty, not hype, not false confidence, certainty. People need to feel your conviction. They need to see that you believe in the outcome more than you fear the challenge. Because if you hesitate, they'll hesitate. If you doubt, they'll doubt. But if you stay focused, if you speak with clarity and purpose, they'll follow even through the fire. And sometimes vision is not about painting the full masterpiece. Sometimes it's just giving people the next step, one step. We're going to stabilize this. Then we're going to move forward together. That alone can shift the energy from chaos to courage. Vision is your anchor. It's your compass. And in the hardest moments, it becomes your leadership advantage. Because when everyone else is spinning, the person with a clear direction stands out. That's the kind of leader people follow, not because they have to, but because they want to. Lead with vision, not reaction. One of the biggest myths about leadership is that you have to be perfect, that you need to have every answer, never show doubt, always be in control. But let me be straight with you. That's not leadership. That's pressure. And it's fake. Real leadership is not about being flawless. It's about showing up with certainty in the middle of the unknown. It's about being honest, being human, and still being steady. You don't need to be perfect to lead. In fact, when you try to be, you push people away. Nobody connects to perfection. They connect to authenticity. They connect to someone who's real, who's in the fight with them, who doesn't pretend to have it all figured out, but refuses to give up on the mission. That's the kind of leadership people trust. Not polished, not robotic, real. When things get tough, people are not looking for you to perform. They're looking for you to be grounded, to be a voice of stability. They're not expecting you to have every solution, but they do want to know that you're not going to run, collapse, or point fingers when it gets hard. They want to see that you believe in something bigger than the fear that's showing up. And that's what certainty really is. It's not about guarantees. It's about grounded confidence. It's the ability to say, I don't know every detail of how we're going to get through this, but I do know that we will. And I'm here for it. I'm in it with you. That kind of presence shifts energy. It creates safety because people aren't just following your words. They're following your emotional tone. Now, hear me on this. It's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to admit when something is uncertain. What matters is how you say it. When your voice is rooted in purpose, when your energy is steady, when your belief doesn't waver, people feel that. They draw strength from it, and they'll move with you, even through the unknown. You don't lead by pretending to be invincible. You lead by being courageous enough to keep showing up, even when it's hard. Even when it's messy, even when the path isn't clear. That's what inspires people. That's what earns trust. And here's the truth. People aren't just listening to your answers. They're watching how you carry yourself. They're watching how you respond under pressure. That's where real influence comes from. It's not in your brilliance. It's in your consistency, your presence, your ability to stay centered when the world tilts. So, don't aim for perfection. Aim for honesty. Aim for certainty in the mission. Speak from that place. Stand in that energy, because when you do, you give others permission to step into their own power. And that's leadership at its core. Communicate certainty, not perfection. When the going gets tough, your natural instinct might be to protect yourself, to focus on survival, to ask, how do I get through this without losing everything? But the moment you start thinking that way, you lose the essence of what leadership truly is. Leadership isn't about self-preservation. It's about serving others, even and especially when it's hard. Here's what separates great leaders from the rest. Great leaders ask a different question. Instead of how do I survive, they ask, how do I serve? They look beyond their own fears, their own challenges, and see the bigger picture. The people who depend on them, the mission that matters more than any single obstacle. Because serving first changes everything. When you serve others, you step outside of your own struggle. You shift your focus from what you're losing to what you can give. And that shift creates a powerful energy, one that inspires loyalty, trust, and momentum. People don't follow leaders who are consumed by their own fears. They follow leaders who show up with a heart wide open, ready to carry the weight for others. Serving first doesn't mean ignoring your own needs. It means making the choice to put others before ego. It means setting aside pride and focusing on contribution. When your ego is leading, you're reactive, defensive, and closed off. But when you lead from service, you're proactive, courageous, and generous. That's the difference between a leader who survives and a leader who transforms. In tough times, serving first means listening more than talking. It means understanding the fears, the hopes, the frustrations of your team. It means stepping into their shoes and asking, what do you need from me right now? That's leadership that builds connection and breaks down walls. People don't need a boss. They need someone who sees them, hears them, and moves with them. And when you serve, you become a source of strength, not just through your words, but through your actions. Serving first means being the first to step up, the first to take responsibility, the first to make the hard calls. It means being willing to sacrifice your comfort for the good of the group. That's the kind of leadership that creates momentum, even when everything feels stuck. This isn't easy. Serving first requires humility. It requires courage. It requires a commitment to something bigger than yourself. But here's the truth. When you lead with service, you unlock a power inside you that ego-driven leadership can never reach. You create a force that moves mountains because it's rooted in genuine care and unwavering commitment. So when the pressure comes, remember this: leadership isn't about how much you can take, it's about how much you can give. Serve first, ego last. That's the heart of leading when it's tough. Resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. It's something you develop every day, moment by moment, especially when life pushes back harder than you expected. Leading when it's tough doesn't mean you never fall or never fail. It means you get back up every single time, no matter how many times you've been knocked down. That's the real definition of strength. Think about it. Every leader you admire, every person who's made a real impact has been tested. They faced obstacles that would have stopped most people in their tracks, but they didn't stay down. They found ways to push through, to grow, to get stronger with each challenge. And that's what you have to do too. Resilience is a habit. It's a muscle you train. It's not something that just magically appears when you need it most. You build it by setting small goals, by committing to daily actions that reinforce your strength. It's about waking up every morning and deciding, today, I'm going to rise. Today, I'm going to face whatever comes with courage. When you do that consistently, you develop a mindset that doesn't quit, a spirit that refuses to break. And it's not just mental. Resilience is physical, emotional, and spiritual. It means taking care of your body because your energy fuels your leadership. It means managing your emotions so they don't control you. It means connecting with something bigger than yourself, whether that's your purpose, your values, or the people you serve. That connection gives you the strength to keep moving forward, even when the road gets rough. The reality is, tough times are temporary. They come and go like storms, but tough leaders, they're timeless. They're the ones who last beyond the crisis because they build systems and habits that prepare them for anything. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create their own strength, their own stability every day. And here's the thing about resilience. It's contagious. When you show up with relentless determination, your team picks up on that energy. They start to believe they can overcome too. Your resilience becomes their fuel. It creates momentum that propels everyone forward, even when it feels impossible. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. You can decide to be the person who rises no matter what. You can decide to use every setback as a setup for a comeback. And when you do, you don't just survive tough times, you transform through them. So build your resilience every day. Train your mind, your body, and your heart, because leadership is not about never falling. It's about rising every damn time. That's how you lead, even when it's tough.